Assalamu alaikum students. How are you kids? I hope you are doing well. So I welcome you to your next e-lesson, and this e-lesson is about your novel. I hope you watched the previous assignment lesson of your novel, and in that one we covered chapter 1 and 2. And the novel is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So we learned about the young boy who lives with his parents and 4 grandparents, and that he loves chocolate, and also there is a factory near his home and he walks by it every day when he is going to school or coming back from it. So the last assignment ended on when Grandma Josephine asks Grandpa Joe to tell Charlie about the prince. So dear students, now let's move towards our today's assignment, chapter 3, Mr. Wonka and the Indian Prince. So Grandpa Joe recounts the story of Prince Pondicherry, who brings Mr. Wonka to India and hires him to build an entire chocolate palace. So Prince Pondicherry wrote a letter to Mr. Willy Wonka, said Grandpa Joe, and asked him to come all the way out to India and build him a palace entirely out of chocolate. From the carpets to the ceiling, everything is made of chocolate. Hot chocolate even comes out of the bathroom taps. Charlie at a point got a little confused and he was a little skeptic, and he asks, "Is this really true?" And Grandpa Joe said, "Each and every word is." When the palace is done, Mr. Wonka warns the prince that it will start melting soon. "You'd better start eating it right away." Furious, the prince says he will keep the palace forever. But it melts on the first hot day, and the prince ends up swimming in a chocolate lake. And then Grandpa Joe tells a little more about Mr. Wonka's chocolate factory. And while doing so, he lowers his voice to a whisper when he tells Charlie that no one is ever seen coming and going from the factory. The gates are always locked. "Does anyone work here? If so, who?" Charlie looks around to see if his grandparents are teasing him, but they are serious. He would love to know more, but it's bedtime. The story will have to wait until the following night. So this is the end of chapter 3. Do read it yourself as well, so you will be able to answer the questions at the end. Now let's move towards our chapter 4, The Secret Workers. The next evening, Grandpa Joe explains why no one is ever seen going into or coming out of Mr. Wonka's factory. It seems Mr. Wonka employed thousands of people until spies penetrated the system and began stealing his most famous recipes. Mr. Wonka was so unhappy he fired all his workers, locked the gates and closed down the factory. After months, the factory showed signs of being in use again. Steam came out of the chimneys, the noise of the machines started up again, and the smell of melting chocolate filled the air. Mysterious shadows could be seen in the factory windows, shadows of people who seems to be no more than knee-high. At this point in Grandpa Joe's story, Mr. Bucket rushes in from work. He is waving a newspaper with a huge headline, "Wonka Factory to be opened at last to lucky few." Alright students, so this is the end of chapter 4. Do read this chapter as usual, as I say. Alright, now let's move towards chapter 5, The golden ticket. Mr. Bucket excitedly reads newspaper article aloud. Willy Wonka has decided to allow 5 children to visit his factory. He will give those 5 a tour of the factory and show them all its secrets and magic. At the end of the tour, all 5 winners will be given lifetime supplies of chocolate and candy. Golden tickets have been placed in 5 random chocolate bars, which may be in any shop, in any street, in any town, in any country in the world, anywhere that Wonka's candies are sold. Grandpa Joe is elated, overjoyed. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Charlie found one of the tickets? Sadly, Charlie says there isn't a hope, but Grandma Georgina reminds him his birthday is next week. He'll get a chocolate bar then. So students, this is the end of chapter 5. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I really have, as this is one of my really favorite novels. So I am sure you will be looking forward for the next chapters. I am again going to tell you to read this 3 chapters up till this assignment by yourself as well. Now let's move towards the questions from the chapter. Why Mr. Willy Wonka closed his factory? That is question number 1. And the question number 2 is, what was the exciting and amazing news in newspaper? Alright students, I hope you will be able to answer this question as it has been explained in the lecture, and also it's written very clearly into the chapters as well. So read the chapters very closely. I will see you next time inshallah. Till then, take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.